All right, welcome everybody. So happy New Year. This is the first day of 2025, New Year's Day. I got my buddies here. I got Brian White from Future Raza. I got Nick Gibbs from Investing Against the Grain. We're going to have a little bit of fun today. We're going to talk about 2025. Just a couple days ago, you had Elon Musk being incredibly bullish. He made the most bullish statement I've ever seen him ever make about what's going to happen by the second half of 2025. We've got the milestones. We'll talk about what we think is going to happen, and we're going to talk about the stock. So welcome, guys. Who wants to get started? How about you, Nick? Tell us what you're thinking about this first day of 2025.
Well, first of all, Happy New Year's to my friends
Yeah.
here. Happy New Year's to everybody watching. It's going to be a good year. Top of mind, I guess there's a lot of things, probably all the things that Herbert, you probably have on the docket. Obviously, before hopping in here, I saw the whole Cybertruck fire outside Trump Tower in Vegas. I think it's Vegas. Obviously, the whole New Orleans situation last night. And obviously, what you led with there, Elon's comments, that's definitely the thing that was on top of my mind all last night. So I think those are the kind of topics, and just again, you guys are on top of mind, making sure that you guys are good and you guys are safe and you guys had a good evening.
Yeah, I think this is actually symbolic, isn't it? That the first day you got somebody, I would say 90% chance this isn't arson. This isn't the battery just spontaneously going on its own with a large bang, apparently. And, that just happens to be right in front of the Trump Tower. Clearly, this was a message being sent, first day, let's get Elon and this anger that's out there. I guess that's part and parcel of success or part and parcel of being controversial.
I wonder if, because of where it is, it will get a more thorough investigation than it would otherwise. If this was an act of arson, then the odds of the person getting away with it would be very, very slim because, you know how many cameras there are in front of a hotel and casino? Quite a few. In terms of how the year, this has been a ridiculous year for 2024 in the chat. I'd love to hear some people say what their biggest milestone of 2024 was. And for that matter, what you think going into 25, because this, we had our year of regrouping, of loading the spring, of cranking the jack in the box. And here we are in 25. The clown is going to come popping out of that box. It's going to scare a lot of people. They're very frightening. But I think we've got some good things to look forward to. Juniper is imminent. Apparently, they're already taking reservations for it, taking orders for it in Shanghai, in the China market. And then I expect to see that begin rolling out even wider, at least as quickly as we saw with the Highland Model 3 moving to the second factory in Fremont. I think we should expect it at least that quickly to begin spreading beyond Giga Shanghai.
Yeah. Okay. Well, 2025, big year. Everything we've been talking about for 5 years, it's all going to happen 2025. Many of them is going to happen in 2025. We'll go through that list, but I'm not the only one that's saying something very bullish. You got Elon Musk saying this. Now, Elon, of course, has been saying many things that have been very bullish, so we might want to take this as a grain of salt. But the other thing, though, is if you listen to what he actually said, it is so confident. And it wasn't just him. This is a pattern that we've been seeing with many of the Tesla executives over the last several months. So this all started with Techie Danny saying, how can you call yourself a tech influencer and not recognize how advanced Tesla software is? She's talking about Tesla software. Elon replied, of course, he's changed his name to Kikius Maximus. And he said this, the brutal reality of the situation will hit like a tsunami towards the end of next year. These are some fighting words. Why did he choose these words? The brutal reality of the situation. So the brutal reality of how advanced Tesla software is will hit like a tsunami. So everybody will be aware of this by this point, despite you wanting to, say no or fighting it back towards the end of next year. So I just think that this is the most bullish statement he's ever made, most confident statement that by the end of next year. Now, he also replied to another post somebody said about, I think it was Dave Lee said he's referring to FSD. And he said, yes. But it also felt to me that this is more than just FSD. This is AI. The brutal reality of the advanced software is going to be hitting like a tsunami. What was your guys' interpretation of this sentence?
Well, I would take it to mean definitely FSD. Uh, the problem with anything that's that far out in Elon's timelines is they're subject to change. They could come a little bit sooner. They could come a little bit later. They could come years later. But I would agree with you that it could mean a lot more. AI is changing everything, and it will continue to do so. The good news is a lot of people seem to think that AI will soon be solved, whatever that means, and that at that point we'll just have too much compute around and more power than we need because we're giving it all to the AI. I don't know what world they live in that the future uses less compute than the old world. I don't know. I've heard predictions like that for a long, long time from people who don't understand that as much compute as you have, you can find a use for it, and you will. Yeah, you would instead use that power to say, look, I'm willing to pay $20. I want to see a movie about this exact thing and have it generate that movie. That would take a lot of compute and might be good. You just don't know. So I think, yeah, we're likely to see some shifts that will wake people up to the reality that there are societal changes coming in terms of what employment is. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. Nick, what do you think?
Um, hmm. So trying to choose my words wisely here. I want to start off by addressing what you said, Brian, regarding, you know, Elon could be late, whatever, all these things. I don't think this is one of those. I think this is one of those where he's going to be extremely on time. Um, I think late Elon is over at this point. Um, I think FSD is solved personally. Um, I think, and when I mean solved, I mean I'm not saying today is the finished product, but it's one of those things where you have like you're doing a puzzle and you have like 5 pieces left. Just because I didn't put the pieces in doesn't mean it's not solved. Like the puzzle's solved, right? If you don't agree with that, then to me that's kind of why people who are forward looking with tech make more money than people who need the tech to be done before they make the money. That's literally the delta in that. But this is signal to me, and Elon has, I would say, famously given signal to everybody about when you want to be in the stock and not trade in and out of it and to just buy and hold. And to me, this was one of those. This tells me that Cybercab is on track. Cybercab will start production this year. It's weird to say that. It will start production this year. Yeah. 2026 is volume production. In fact, in the last earnings call, he specifically stated, I'm not saying we're going to be ramping in 2026. We will be ramped in 2026. The words matter, and he was very explicit about his words. I think that he's telling us, like, it's there. Very much how they're telling us about, you know, the things they were saying about 12, and the things they were saying about 13. They see it way ahead of us. They're seeing things way ahead of us. I think they see it. They're working on the tail end of things. They're working on parking garages. They're working on your own home garage. They're working on all these like little soft skills, if you will, for FSD. And so that's all they're doing now. And I think we're going to start. Again, maybe I'm just being way too bullish, but I said this the other day on X. I bought my first leaps in almost 5 years. Because I'm using FSD 13 every day, and I'm telling you, maybe it's just my geography where I'm at here in Florida that it's just great here and it sucks to other places. I don't know, but I can tell you, this is something special. I don't know a human that can drive as smooth as FSD 13 can. I don't. I literally don't. And to me, I feel like I have insider information right now, and yeah, this post after I bought the Leap, after I was literally posting on X that I feel like this is insider information, and then he posts this, I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like this is it. It's happening. And Ron Barron even said that, like 6 months ago?
So I would say that the puzzle is almost complete. There are only 5 pieces remaining, but we're not sure where they are. We're pretty sure we've got 1 or 2 of them. I think the cat made off with one. The toddler may have eaten the final piece. So we will get there. It is in sight, but I don't know how long it takes to get those last 5 pieces into the puzzle.
You don't.
No,
They
and
do.
neither. Yeah, they do. I don't know. When it's that far out, I don't know. It's
Yeah, I lean towards what Nick is saying. And the reason is that you've got neural net. You've seen already 1,000 times improvement by adding more compute and adding more data. You see it solving issues, edge cases that it needed to solve, then it's solved, right? Now it's like, okay, we need to solve this edge case next. We need to solve this edge case next. But it's just increased compute, increased data, and you're pretty confident that if it can solve those ones, why can't it solve this one? And they're showing that it can do it now. So it really is the way Nick described it.
The thing I will add to what Nick was saying that I'm agreeing with. Last night I did a 50, 60 mile drive to Portland and then another 50, 60 miles back in the rain, and no disengagements, no weird behavior. In the early days, I would feel high confidence on the highways, very low confidence off the highways, and my confidence zone expands with every new build to the point where there are entire drives that are now worry-free, stress-free. I just know it's going to handle them, which is a tremendous leap forward. It is pretty fantastic to see, and it gives me the highest confidence I've ever had. But what I say is I can't see beyond the horizon. I don't know the when.
Yeah, none of us do. Okay, but that's the point, right? So the other thing too is like there's with the way Tesla's testing FSD now, they need to test it based on they purposely need to optimize it for as many disengagements as you can get. So they want to try it for end to end for any environment, any road condition, because the more disengagements they can get, the more they can find these edge cases and solve it. At some point, they can turn the switch and go, I want to optimize this for no disengagements anymore. And they could obviously also restrict the geolocation. They can restrict certain places where it's going to drive. You know what I mean? They can say, okay, I don't want to do that unprotected left turn, so I'll go around it. I'll take longer to go around it. They're not doing that right now because they purposely want to see and test it as hard as they can. That's the difference in what they're doing today. Let's take a look at what he said again. Let's see what he's saying. He says the brutal reality of the situation will hit like a tsunami towards the end of next year. And Dave Lee said, unsupervised FSD is a tsunami. And Elon, I can't see it there. Yeah, you can see it there. He said, yeah. And he confirmed that unsupervised FSD towards the end of next year. The last time he said this word tsunami of hurt was in 2012. I don't know if that has any correlation to it as well, when he was urging Tesla short sellers to cover their positions. And then Dave shared this video.
I think it's very unwise to be shorting Tesla. I mean, it's just very unwise. I think there's a tsunami of hurt coming for the short, those holding a short position. Okay. It's going to be very, very unpleasant. I advise people to exit while there is time.
Okay, so he said that in 2012. Of course, that happened in 2013. The stock jumped quite significantly. And then, of course, we saw it again in 2020. So, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be short. We've seen the kind of returns that Michael Berry gets, and I can't afford it. I'm glad to see people like Bill Gates are rich enough to short Tesla. It's a very expensive hobby, and frankly, the guy could use some better hobbies.
Yeah, I do want to say that I think this is going to sound like I'm trying not to cuss on here, but full of crap. I do think we know when it's going to be solved. I really do. Like I have a high degree of conviction that I wouldn't be buying leaps if I didn't. Um, I think we know it's now, it's this year. I think we know that. Do I know the exact date and the time and the hour and the second? No, but it's this year. It's there's I have zero doubt of that. I'm 99.9% confident that we are going to solve it this year. That this is it. Not only solve it, but we're going to see unsupervised drives out there. It's, I think there's been a lot of smoke signals that you've seen. The one that I think a lot of people haven't picked up on as a smoke signal is the scaling of compute that Tesla's doing.
Yeah,
Tesla could have scaled this
saying.
compute. Yeah, they could have scaled this compute all along. Like, it's not like, but they weren't ready to do it. It's a lot like Optimus right now, right? They could make thousands, hundreds of thousands of Optimus if they thought it was time, but they're still perfecting the actual hardware part of it, making sure that they have the right components, they have the right, build to go into scale. And I think that's what they were doing with FSD. They're waiting until they had the right architecture, the right approach to then say, okay, now it's about let's scale, right? When you work on a prototype, you're trying to figure out like what you want. You don't scale before you know exactly what it is you're actually trying to do. And the fact that they've gone, I think at one point Elon said balls to the wall on compute. That was the first smoke signal. And I think seeing Ashok come out and start giving timelines and hitting those timelines, that's another smoke signal. Listening to all of the Tesla FSD AI engineers come out so bullish over the last few months, the fact that we had Robo-Taxi Day, the fact that we have that, the fact that he's saying that we're going to be in full ramp, in full production by 2026, which means you have to start in 2025. Another smoke signal. This post is another smoke signal. What I experience with version 13 right now, that's a smoke. Like it's one of those things where it's like, look, if I have to give you the answer after it, it's like when you're dating, guys, and you're young, and it's like the girl touches you on the arm, she's sitting there with her keys,
no.
She's giving you all the signals, and you're still like, I don't know if she wants me to lean in for the kiss or not. It's like, all right, well, like there's a certain point where like I'm telling you, she wants you to. Like, it's there.
Okay.
It's all the
You're
signs
going off
are there.
the rails. I could tell you, I know exactly when it's going to happen. And basically you map it out, what you're saying, Nick, and I said earlier, it's a correlation is to compute. If you saw the compute scale up, then you see the disengagements, critical disengagements go down, it's correlated. And so now the question is, do you think that from January 1st of 2025 to the end of this year, are we going to see scaling up of more compute, like exponential scale? So now they're going to implement another 100,000 H100s. Then they're going to implement the B200s. If they're able to implement those, which are, you can map that out. You can decide if they're going to be able to do it or not. You can put a probability to it or not. That is what's going to take that scale, exponential scale of compute, is what's going to take the exponential reduction in critical disengagements. Because they've already proven it. They've already done it last year. They already showed that they can do this. They already showed that they can identify the disengagements that's required, and the system is learning. So that part is already, like you said, smoke signals. They already have that. So, and I was saying earlier, which is, look, if they wanted to, they can also change the environment and say, okay, it's not going to go from one part of Alaska to another part of Alaska. We'll restrict it to these cities, grid cities. We're going to restrict it to these routes. We're going to, optimize it for this situations. Maybe not even drive at middle night, whatever. They can do things like this too, just to launch the program. They could basically do it today, and they can do what Waymo's doing, Cruise is doing, which they will add remote drivers. For all we know, Waymo is being driven one-to-one. Every car. They only have 700 cars. Why wouldn't they have 700 remote drivers just watching it in every moment? Because we already heard Cruise every 2 to 4 miles, they needed to have an intervention from a remote driver. So, if they wanted to, they could definitely prove it. But anyways, based on what you saw from what he's saying and what others are saying, I think this is more than that. Like Nick is leaning towards, it's much more than that. That this is basically by the end of next year, by the end of this year, holy crap, we're going to be there. Mhm.
Yeah, as far as the like, there's more to it too. I think clearly, I mean, he confirmed with Dave's post that he's talking about FSD. But the question is, if you see if the tsunami comes with regards to FSD, who do you think people are going to bet on when it comes to humanoids? The company that solved autonomy, and the question is like, what are the ripple effects, I guess, of this tsunami? And that's the real question. I think the humanoid component comes into this, and people, I don't know. I think there's a lot more there.
It's more than that's what I agree. It's advancement of the software, which is again correlated with the compute, and they are the fastest to implement. They have the most compute that is possible, not just on the training side. They have the best on the inference side. And then, by the way, AI 5's coming out by the second half of next year. And by the way, which again is 10 times what AI 4 is able to do. So that's another magnitude leap on the inference side. And then Dojo is planned to come out as well, like to be much more useful. So I think, that's really what he's looking at. I think it's just the compute. And then the compute is the software, which then implements both AI neural nets. And now what happens when they show that Tesla's cars can actually drive, right? Like not only park itself, you can summit it. It has advanced safety. It can do a lot of driving beyond cruise control on highways. It does all these things really, really well. What happens? Every single car company, not just 1, 2, or 3, will need to license it. Maybe 1, 2, or 3 might do it this year, but every single car company is going to have to. Now, it's no longer about selling cars, right? It's no longer about selling dumb phones. You're now selling smartphones. Now you're selling smart cars. So if you don't sell smart cars, you're dead. You're done. And so every car company has to figure out what to do. And that's what he means by tsunami of like, it's going to hit them like a brick. It's done. This is no longer about selling cars. It's now about selling autonomy, or, this ability to have this, software-driven cars.
I'm concerned that the integration of FSD is more than just cameras and a computer that can control it. The car is embedded into the vehicle. It is everything. It is the blind spot detection. It is the automatic brake. It is everything. And I'm worried that the other manufacturers would say, yeah, we want to buy just the last couple pieces to make it work. And Tesla would say, that's not how it works. It goes all the way to the core of the system, and you have to redesign your system. And for those manufacturers, that's not a 3-year cycle at that point. That's something entirely different. That could be a 5 to 6 year cycle. And I'm concerned that they would say, look, it's too big of a commitment. Let's just keep crossing our fingers that Mobileye or one of the others comes along and solves it. So I don't know. I'm not quite as optimistic as you guys.
Hold on. Why does that concern you? To me, that's great.
Oh, I think it's great.
Don't license it. Great.
Myself as a Tesla investor, but as to the theory that licensing is imminent, I'm not sure how easily it could be integrated into another car that's got a million systems running by a million different suppliers and subcontractors.
Yeah. You're absolutely correct. They actually said that, right? They said that it's going to take at least 3 years for the most eager of automakers to try to get this in there. Absolutely, it takes them a long time. So what's going to happen in the meantime? Tesla's going to want to license it. They want you to move because they want as many cars made that is autonomous. That's their goal, right? To have as many autonomous drives. But in the meantime, all Tesla cars will sell. That's who they're going to dominate. Who's going to buy anytime? That's why I made a post one time and I said every single product that Tesla will make is going to be sold out.
And I would say, and I would say that kind of super deep integration is going to be cheaper than building the system yourself, and definitely cheaper than going bankrupt.
I have a question, and pardon me, Herbert, if you have a list of things to talk about on the docket today.
No, keep going. No, not at all.
I think this leads organically into talking about tomorrow and the potential delivery numbers, production numbers.
Let's do that.
And I'm just curious how you guys are thinking about it, because I've been at the point for, I guess all of 2024, Herbert. I've been, even with you, I've been kind of saying like the numbers are irrelevant. And I think they've been irrelevant really. And we saw that in Q1 of 2024 when they only sold 300 something thousand, and the stock went up for the first time after a quarter in like 3 years. And it's been kind of the same thing on and on. So I'm of the opinion, one, I don't think anyone ever really gets the delivery numbers right over and over. I would say Brian is probably the highest signal I've seen as far as the production.
Yeah,
But as far as deliveries, like it seems like everyone's always off on that. Like no one, but production, unless I'm mistaken, I'm pretty sure Brian has been most consistently accurate on that. I'm blocked by Troy Tesla, so I don't know.
I'm also blocked by Troy. I've been very good on production. I've had only 2 quarters out of 15, 16 that were misses over 2%. But, past performance is not an indicator of future success.
Yeah, but I agree with you that it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant, but it also is relevant because every car they make is going to be a future revenue generator, all 100% margin, right? And so they need to, and like we were just saying here, other car makers, when this flips, where people start to realize, I want to buy a smart car, I need to buy a smart car, I need one that's going to be able to be in the future, be autonomous, they're going to be buying Teslas. And when they do that, they need the more Teslas that are out there now, the better, right? And I think at some point when it flips, what I was trying to say is that investors themselves will recognize that every car that Tesla has made could become a future autonomous, will become a future autonomous car. Therefore, the more cars that they make, that investor will flip into, instead of saying, oh, you're just making a one-time, vehicle asset sale, to now a recurring revenue sale. When that flips, that's when the stock price will go.
Yeah, let me clarify then, because maybe what I was saying didn't come off the way I intended it to. It matters that we have good deliveries because that's what's fun. That's the cash flow of the company right now. We need that cash flow to buy more compute, to pay for new factories, to pay for supplies, all that, of course. And we want to see growing adoption, obviously. But what I'm trying to clarify is that whether we hit 500,000, 505,000, 550,000, it's irrelevant.
Yes.
Because everyone already knows that essentially it's a flat year, right? We already know that. Like that's been baked into the stock for a long time. Everybody knows that. So whenever, like potentially if CNBC, Bloomberg, everyone comes out saying Tesla missed deliveries by whatever, they had declining growth year over year, all the sensational headline is going to mean nothing because everyone already knew this. It's baked in. The market's good with pricing those things in. So my point is that's irrelevant at this point. Like the numbers don't move the stock the way it used to.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So what will be more interesting will be one, however they talk about it. But people are gonna be looking for the earnings to hear. This started pretty much December, I think, or it started Q3 of 2023. And Herbert, you and I, you had me filling in for someone, and you and I were talking, and I was saying that I think you're going to start seeing analysts stop asking so much questions about the vehicle and more about AI. And
exactly.
You saw that switch happen.
Yes.
And every earnings call since then, it's been an exponential curve of people asking less about deliveries and cars and new models and more about AI and when they have, and when do they think they're going to roll out. And I think you're going to see that more here in January. And so that to me is what's extremely exciting about what's coming up tomorrow. I think, hey, they have to, they can't be at like 300,000 tomorrow. That's a problem. But as long as they're in the ballpark, I think tomorrow's a nothing burger. Stock might react because it's a slow week, low volume, one way or another. But I think it's all about what is said at the earnings call, and not so much what Elon says or the team says, but understanding what are the questions the analysts are asking. That's going to tell you about how Wall Street's currently viewing Tesla. And I think that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just been reporting since Monday that in July of 2024, Tesla was the number one most shorted stock. And then most recent numbers from 300 and something like 358 hedge funds, the survey showed that today Tesla's the number 11th most held stock by these hedge funds. So it flipped from being the most shorted to now in the top 20 of the most held stocks. And that's, for a number of people I've been interviewing, many will say, as you have last time, it's because of Trump, to Elon's relationship with the government and what that will mean to regulations. It's now associated with autonomy and robotaxi that's coming. But a couple of people pretty important people that I interviewed were saying that it's got AI. It's really, really something that I've got an interview coming out this weekend with Keith Fitzgerald, and he's saying that absolutely AI was part of the reason why, the recognition that Tesla's becoming an AI company. Yeah.
All right. What's next on the slides?
Let's go 2025. So here's what's coming in 2025. You've got the Megapack factory Shanghai's launched. It actually happened already. They got their approval on December 27th, and they're now in first month here. They're already in prototype, or what is it called? Preliminary production. And then by February, they'll be in full production. I threw in a couple of these Cortex superclusters that by this point, all the 100,000 H100s would have already be in production, fully production. That's a big deal. And I put 200,000 somewhere in the second half of next year. In fact, now I've learned, and I've had a few people confirm to me, that XAI, whenever they implement their superclusters, when they move out of the H100s into the H200s, the B200s, they won't be needing that. And they're already using that for FSD. So that's a big deal to understand that. If that's true, and a number of people are confirming that that's true, that FSD is being used at the Memphis Colossus, which is XAI supercluster. So that not only does Tesla have access to this, they've got access to that. The Model Y, this is actually Q1, but it's actually January. We already heard today, right, Brian, that Juniper is already being, sold to customers in China.
Not delivered, but you can order it. It's not even a pre-order. It's not a reservation. You can just place your order for it.
That's breaking news. We just found that out. And then at some point, there's going to be
Just if I have a question, I imagine other people in the audience do. Just to clarify that, you're saying, are they saying it's like a refreshed Model Y, or
Yes. The refresh Model Y is available for order in Shanghai. This morning, it was reported by Tesla Chan, who has a very good track record for reliability on what's going on the ground in China.
And do they have images or anything of it on their website, or are people just blindly having to?
I don't know. Maybe you have to go into the store, but I did not have time to get into it deeper.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, if that's true, it's one of the smoothest transition you can have ever seen from an old version to a new version. And then affordable vehicle start production, right? Do you guys not agree that could actually be the first catalyst? These are milestones, but some of them might be actual catalyst to the stock. So when they announce it, when they go, okay, here's the new vehicle, they unveil it, and they say that this is going to be when it's going to be ordered. Do you think so? Or do you think that these are, they're just variants, but they are a brand new car? They're a brand new car.
Yeah.
Addressing a new segment, right? Lower price segment.
I think Wall Street will eat that up. I think they'll love it.
I think once that happens, it's going to feel like 2020, 2021 again, where all of a sudden we're seeing the backlog that Tesla has.
The only thing is that these are the $30,000 cars. This is not the sub $25,000 car.
So?
I agree. I'm saying I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm just saying that you talk to other analysts, and what they'll say is, "Oh, I can't wait till Tesla releases their $25,000 car." Look, dude, they're not doing that. They've already said they're going to be the $30,000 cars, under 30 after the incentives. So,
but what's say no incentives? Say it's just 30. What's the extra $5,000 amortized over 72 months, which is the average car loan now? It's only $69. That's before anything. And if you think about just saving in gas, like you're making that up easily. You think about saving in maintenance, you make that up easily. It's such a low hanging fruit. And then on top of that, if we see how affordable leasing a Model Y or Model 3 is right now, imagine leasing one of these, how affordable that would be.
Yeah. I think that the federal framework of autonomous driving, that has to be formalized, but I think it's already built in now. That's why the stock rose in part because everybody assumed that was going to come soon. And there was talk that the transition team or the president's transition team was already talking about that. But this one, right? FSD OEM licensing deals. We've been talking this for this entire year. We were expecting that there was going to be at least 1 or 2 announced by this year, 2024. Hasn't happened. How are you guys feeling about that?
Okay, I'll go.
Please do.
Are you ready for this one? This will be a bold. I'm putting my neck out there. Some would say.
Yeah. Okay.
It'll be announced during the Q1 earnings call.
Love it. That is bold. That is bold.
Why do you say that? What are your smoke signals that you're following? Show me some smoke signals, dude. I might find a crack or two.
You love my crack, don't you?
all the signal I need that he's been smoking something's right here.
All right, you want signal? I'll find some signal for you.
Good.
Let's see. BMW's post on X about FSD. That could be smoke signal.
Intern.
You don't know that. How about all the OEM executives that were at the We Robot Day? You think that's coincidence? How about just the fact that they all already succumbed to using Tesla Supercharger in the standard? Shows that there's already that kind of olive branch. How about the fact that BYD themselves said they aren't going to be going into autonomy? How about the fact that the Uber CEO said Elon's got this? Google CEO saying Tesla's the leader in this. I mean, everyone's kind of bending the knee, and Elon has only really spoken about licensing agreements on earnings calls. And so he said he's been telling us that he's in communications. Last time he said it with several different ones, but it needs to be, he's negotiating on these calls, talking about it's got to be, in the millions, not, a few. And so I don't know. I think we're going to see something on this earnings call. It's a long shot. It's not, I wouldn't bet the house on it, but I think it's, if we're going to have fun and make some bold predictions, I think that's a great bold prediction that you're kind of like, it's possible. It's not out of the realm.
It's not out of the realm, but it's just crazy enough that if it doesn't happen, I don't think anyone will think less of you because
exactly
that's a good one. I don't know. I think it's I love some of the points you've laid out. I'm not sure the string is quite strong enough to connect them all, but yeah, it'll be interesting.
Okay, I actually agree with you, Nick, and here's why.
Get out of here. Are you serious?
I do.
Well, so my crack's been filled with some cock. Got it.
Jesus.
Herbert, if you don't know about caulking, he's been working on his house to repair it.
Right, let's move on, dude. Okay, here's why. The reason I've been saying this for the last several months. Okay, when Elon said that actually we want to only license the software to somebody who can do at least 1 million cars per year, right? That's the thing. That's a signal to you that actually, what do you think's been happening for the last 6 months, a year? They've been barraged with many requests. Please, Rivian's begging them, please license it with us. But they said, no, I'm not, I got to choose. Well, I got so many to choose from. I want to pick the ones that at least can do 1 million. If they wanted to, they could have already announced this, that partnership with Audi or MG or, they could have done that. This is not their goal. Their goal is to partner with 1, 2, or 3 because it takes that automaker commitment for 3 years. They need to survive. They need to be big enough to be able to, to actually do the full robotaxi sharing. And so they are just at this point, it's basically on Tesla's decision to choose when they want to announce it and who. And that's what is happening.
I mean, I thought I had better smoke signals, but yeah, we're on the same page.
That's the best.
Well, he didn't want to repeat too
is.
Many of yours. He wanted to make it look like he wasn't just copying your homework.
It's a done deal. I mean, licensing deals, if anybody here is still going, oh no, it might not happen, it's going to take these guys a really long time. It's the best smoke signal is version 13, right? It's such a huge step change. Everybody recognizes it. Even the investors, right? Institutional investors are now speaking about it. Everybody who uses it sees that it's a major step change. 12 was this major step change. 13 is. At this point, like you said, the CEOs are all saying Tesla's solved this. And so and they know more than we, they more likely know more than we do, right? And they have information that's happening in the background because they're running their multi-billion-dollar businesses and they need to make decisions. They're probably got, information more than we have.
I will say though, I don't think we have a repeat of how it happened with the NACs and superchargers.
Right.
I think it'll be 1, 2, maybe 3 companies that say, yeah, we want to do this. Yeah. I think like GM will still be stuck in their own, opinions of what they're going to do. And I mean, I think they're going to try to do their thing with Cruise. I don't think that you're going to see everybody come forward. Right. I mean, look at Toyota, right? Even Toyota still won't say that EVs are the future. So I think you're going to have people who are kind of holdouts.
I disagree there.
I know. That's why I'm saying it.
Let me clarify. So
offering a different point of view.
No, and I just said I disagree. Is that okay?
Yeah, just don't light a Cybertruck on fire in front of my house.
Girls, you're both pretty.
Okay, let's what were you saying? Oh, okay. So no, I get you. So you're right that not everybody can do this because like we said at the beginning, right? Brian was saying that it's a lot of, this is not just a licensing deal and you're done. Just like even the supercharger was a little bit more, but it's like they had to install, new cars now had to have the supercharger network, the charging port put into the new cars, and that takes them 2 years to do, right? But that's relatively easier than implementing FSC. So I agree with you there. But as I said at the beginning of this call, though, this is such a big change to smart cars. People are going to want to buy smart cars now. Once you see that this is there, you're not going to buy the old car anymore. Who wants to buy that? Once it becomes very clear that there's this new feature, you want that one. And so that's going to drive everybody to say, Ford, you don't have anything that's going to even remotely become a smart car in the future. They better license it from Tesla, or at least have that saying in the future, our cars will have it. So they may not be able to implement it as fast, but they need to, when that realization happens, nobody's going to buy the old car model anymore.
But people like to drive, Herbert.
Sure. They'll be forced to buy it because it's not available, right? Because it's going to be limited availability of these cars, but they'll be affected.
Word will get out quickly. It was like when Google became a thing, they didn't have to advertise because they were already growing at a speed at which they found it difficult to keep up because it was so good. It was so different from everything else that as soon as you used it once, you were hooked. It was just, crazy. And so I think that's what we'll see is, even if this had no announcement, it just happened. They just quietly put out, they just turned on the order page. Everybody else would do the promotion for them and they wouldn't need to do anything. And as soon as you know someone who's got one, who's had the experience, you'd be in. So I think there's plenty to be excited about, even without Tesla doing much pushing.
Let me explain something to you.
Yeah,
Nick.
Please.
Let me explain something to you.
To Brian or
the
to me?
brutal reality of the situation, Nick, is going to hit like a tsunami towards the end of next year, Nick.
He's wrong. It's going to happen sooner.
There you go.
I mean, the future is toward the end of next year. It's just in that direction. I mean, we'd have to really split some hairs to make that leap, but we could do it.
All right, let's keep going here. You got FSD being approved in China. We put that as the first half. You got FSD being approved in Europe. We put that in the second half. New Megapack factory announced. I've been saying that actually I expect 2 Megapack factories announced because every country needs one. And now that they've done 2, I put 1 being announced here first half. Now that Lathrop is up and running, affordable vehicles are launched. I just pushed it out to Q3. Then you got this FSC's critical intervention safer than humans by the the halfway mark, and they would need that in order to actually have these ride hailing launched in Texas and California. So this is it. That's what we've been talking about. That's all here. And this is why I put in Cortex and Dojo. Look at how that is kind of clustered in there because it's all correlated.
Was that pun intentional?
No.
Okay.
No, my puns are better than yours, which were not suitable for the show. Thank you very much.
Well, someone did say this is the best show so far. I'm just scrolling back up to find it. Someone literally said that.
Well, it's because we're the first show of the year. The first show came out today. All right. Dojo Dan 2, Cortex. We need to throw in more of these. It's actually a new milestone. We need to be tracking it. It is what everything is based on. And the other thing I haven't put in is more bot. There should be more bot milestones, but I put in, 1,000 internal use. That's what he said by second half of next year. But I'm sure there's going to be other bots milestones that we probably should be tracking. Is there anything missing from this list? If you guys see something, please put that into the comments there.
Semi? Is that on there?
Okay, can we have a conversation about that? I get mixed signals. Some people are going, semi is the biggest thing. It's so massive. It's more than just semis. It's like every company that buys a semi will need to buy Megapack factories, superchargers and all that. But I'm like, compared to everything else they're doing, bots and autonomy, I think there's going to be robo-trucking. That's going to be massive. And I kind of lump that in with
autonomy.
Is semi that big of a deal?
Compared to, the phase 3 is all about extreme scale. I've seen people say, Tesla's going to do RVs. They're not. That is the opposite of extreme scale. That is the smallest market, a market so small that even GM just sells the chassis and not the actual bodies. They let the coach builders deal with that. And I don't see Tesla even going that route. I think extreme scale is where it's at. And I think semis can be big scale. I think there's still more of a phase 2 idea than a phase 3 idea. If they hadn't started the semis before the extreme scale philosophy, I'm not sure they would have. But I do think it is exciting. I think when you look at the year-end environmental impact report, I think you're going to see a whole page dedicated to the impact of the electric semi year after year in that report from here out. So I think it is a big deal, but my big thing is tracking factories, and I have a factory to track, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Big deal in terms of the goal, the mission, right?
Yes.
So they're going to do it.
But in terms of total revenue,
right.
Yeah, it's nothing like some of these other products.
Unless, and here's where this is kind of interesting, because I've seen Elon comment about this before, that if you're looking at the cost per mile of a vehicle, then you compare it to the cost per mile of a transport of a train, or to shipping, or to short haul flights. If robo-trucking can actually get to the point where it's cheaper than a train, that is where it really starts to have a huge impact to, revenue and pricing and all that.
The trick there becomes that the cost of rail includes the cost of purchasing and maintaining the rail. Where on the roads, that's taxpayer money. That the other drivers, the states, the federal, are putting in a whole lot of money to keep the highways operational, where on the rail lines, not as much.
Okay. Price predictions, Tesla price predictions. Everybody I've been interviewing, most are saying $600, $700. I had Brian Wang go out and say $1,000 by the end of 2025. You've got, somebody like Dan Ives saying 600 as well. Where are you guys thinking the stock price will be this time next year?
I'll go first because I'm quick at this. I don't do stock predictions,
Right.
so anywhere
too, yeah.
between 180 and 600.
I agree with you. I don't do that either. How about you, Nick? You've been hitting it pretty closely.
Wait, you don't do it, but you're going to bring it up on your own show?
I have to.
Come on.
I mean, the audience are Tesla investors, and
He
this is a
brought on
topic
the
they were-
expert, Nick. That's why you're here. He needs you to answer the question.
Well, you were pretty accurate last time I asked you. So,
Yeah, got lucky.
in
That's all it is.
fact, didn't you also predict the drop? You did.
Yeah, I did.
So you predicted. I asked you was it September? And I said, and you said on this show in September, I said, what's the stock price going to be? And you boldly said that it's going to be $350 or so, or $300, something like that. Yeah, by October 31st, and we hit it. We got there, and that was like nobody was expecting that. And then we had this show and this like last couple of weeks ago, yeah. And then and the stock was skyrocketing, and you said it's going to pull back. It's going to pull back. Kind of did.
But yeah, but again, like
Luck.
it's nice to be like, yeah, I called in all that, but the truth is, and I think I even said then, we could go to 700 and then we pull back to 550.
Yeah.
Like you don't know when or what.
Yeah.
But if we want to, let's play this game a little different. Instead of giving you a number, let's talk about what the options market are expecting. The option markets right now expect a range from 220 to 585, call it. All right. So that's actually contracted recently. It was up over 600 a couple of days ago, but we've seen the stock pull back. And so that's why that's kind of been tempered. I think that the potential is pretty wide. I think we could go anywhere from 250 all the way up to probably $1,000 this year. I think that's how wide it is, because there's so much potential of what could be, and today's day one, right? Literally, it's day one, and we don't know what we don't know yet. I can give you an easy roadmap to 1,000. Licensing deal announced at the earnings call. Tomorrow we get 550,000 deliveries. We get in the first 90 days of Trump taking the oath and being inaugurated, we get the NHTSA autonomy federal legislation, whatever, passed, right, in Elon speed. We get the new vehicles announced, and to your point, not only announced, but start reserving now for deliveries next month, right? Something like that. Texas and California start their own Tesla robotaxi service. By the end of the year, it's expanding to pretty much every state, and they start production of the robotaxi. I mean, like if that all happens this year, $1,000 is not crazy. Like, it's not. Right? You're gonna have so many people trying to get into this before the revenue actually starts being realized. It'll be insane.
Yeah. A perfect storm would absolutely get us to 1,000.
Not a storm, a tsunami.
Oh,
Well played.
This guy. Oh, now Herbert's getting in on the action. I see how it is. Yeah, well, yeah. There's a lot of factors. There are also potential headwinds. I think, Nick, your range of 250 to 1,000. I think 1,000 is a little on the bonkers side, but I think the analyst saying, 250 to 580.
How can it go down to 250?
Oh, how did it go down last time? How did it go down last time? Just did. Yeah.
Scenario.
Of course it can.
right.
I'm not saying it can. I'm just asking the question.
The market's irrational. I mean, it doesn't need a reason to go up or down. Some of our biggest moving days are on no news at all, which is why, every now and then you'll see someone will come into your comments and say, "Oh, I'm thinking about this investment strategy." I can't help you, man.
Well, so let's assume that something bad happens with FSD, right? So a robotaxi, all of a sudden, everybody who was so bullish about it, some smoke signal comes out and says, "Oh, it's not as clear as everybody thought." Okay, that happens. How bad will the stock fall? 50%?
I don't think that far.
I mean, here
That's 250.
the scenario I would paint is, say there's a big fallout between Elon and Trump. That could take us right down to 300, right out the gate. Remember, because before the election, we were pretty much at 300. So boom, you're at 300. Then they get into more of a back and forth on X or whatever, and all of a sudden Trump, has some lawfare against Elon. Maybe we don't need a national. Maybe we should have it at the state level. We shouldn't have, right? Yeah. And boom, that's another $50.
Even if it's rhetoric. Yeah.
So I mean, like that could. I don't think that's how it's going to play out. But I'm just saying, like, in the spectrum of possibilities, I think that's the far end of the curve. I think that's like a 2 standard deviation outward potential, because they both have things they want where it's online. Trump has his. I think at this point it's whether you like him or not. One of the best things about having a president in there now that's friendly to Elon is that they're not worried necessarily about getting reelected again, right? They're more so about having a lasting impact, about what have you done, and for him to have us, the United States, be the leader in energy exports, to fix our national deficit, to increase the amount of revenue we have coming in from other countries, to lead the world in autonomous vehicles, to have the first humans land on Mars. Like that is to end the wars, to have another 4 years of peace. Like that would be a legendary presidency. And then Elon also has what he wants, right? And what he needs. And, I don't think Elon, I know people think that I drink Kool-Aid from Elon, but I generally don't think Elon cares about his own motives per se, as much as he cares about just thinking about what's the best thing for humanity and the globe. And I mean, I guess those are his motives, but his motives aren't selfish. His motives are for what's the best thing for humanity. And those two things, can work. And if Elon truly cares about what's best for humanity, he will keep himself in check to make sure that he doesn't spoil the relationship with Trump. And if Trump really cares about his legacy and going down as, one of the greatest presidents, then he will keep his ego in check, because he can't do that without Elon, right? But together, they can both do something beautiful. Again, like or hate either of them, there's a lot of potential.
So as a reminder, in just about 2 minutes, there's going to be an after show where the chats from this show will be addressed. I'm going to drop out now so I can get a 1.5 minute break before that starts. And the show continues right here, right now with Herbert and Nick.
Okay. Just stay on this channel and you'll be automatically moved to Brian's. The biggest risk Tesla has is Elon. We have the key man risk here, and it's outsized more than any company out there. You can argue the key man risk is the most important to Tesla. So the question is, what would happen if something happened to Elon? And I think there'll be a huge drop. So we can certainly see 200s or even 100, right? Back to that again, depending on how the reaction is. But it'll come back up because I think that every month is going by, we're now at the point where products that have already moved, disruptive products that have already moved, are already at their last legs. Like the way you position it was so perfect. 5 pieces left in a puzzle. Certainly there's somebody will say, oh, you'll never solve it. No, Elon's no longer there. But you can also say 90% of chance that the people running the show will continue to solve FSD. And the bot's now in the 3rd generation of its, kind of the hardware, not complete, but we're almost there to be design complete. And then it's going to be launched. And then the AI supercluster is already out there. The neural nets is already out there. So if something happened to Elon, I'm not convinced that robots is dead in the water. There's not going to be a robot market, that there won't be an autonomous market, and I think that those are already well on their way. It could actually be the opposite. It could actually even be what happened to Apple, where, you know, when
Yeah.
Steve Jobs passed away, then you had an operator in place, and the operator, Tim Cook, was able to take the inventions that were created and completely just, you know, 20x, 100x what it was at that point, right?
That's what I was going to say is I think FSD and robotaxis are far along now that if Elon were just to decide to leave, that's going to be a complete success already.
Yeah.
Optimus, I think, is on the precipice of that. And the closer we get to FSD and robotaxi to where we see it and Optimus, the key man risk declines exponentially, I would say. Because everybody at the company, the people who are, you know, the decision makers within the company, it's not just Elon, right? They already know what the roadmap and the game plan is, and they're working on executing that. They haven't unveiled that to us, but they all know what's next and what to do, right? Even Steve Jobs pretty much told Tim Cook like what was next, and they knew internally like what their vision was for the next few years. So the vision and understanding is already there. What Elon does best more than anything is to push people beyond their boundaries and to push people to make the hard decisions. You know what? Getting rid of all of the supercharging team. Now we'll slowly hire them back. That's what Elon's really good at, right? Making those bold, hard decisions. But as far as the roadmap, if that's the concern, I don't think there's concern. Everyone knows the roadmap internally. I would imagine.
Yeah, it's big challenges, right? The most recent one that he did was, did you hear about this? 30,000 H100s was the limit that people were able to build superclusters. And Google engineers and Meta engineers, they're all saying that we can't get past the 30,000 mark. Elon comes in and he solves this problem and was able to make it go 100,000. And literally all the other engineers of the other companies were shocked that he was able to solve that problem. And that's the kind of brilliance that he was able to bring in. And he did it. So now that he did that, it's already done. Now, can he do it to 1 million? That's the big question. But the 100,000 is enough to take us to, you know, the next level of autonomy, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, well, you know, that was a negative way to end the show, but 2025, we didn't want to also be Pollyannish, right? 2025 is the year that everything's converging together. This is the year we might actually see robotaxi come alive. We're going to see a Cybertruck on the streets, on the roads. We're going to have robots in the factories. There's apparently 2 now, but there should be like 1,000 by next year, hopefully, if everything works out well. We're going to have multiple megapack factories producing and selling, and that's already well on its way. We're going to have multiple new vehicles introduced this year. Boy, you know, we're going to have all new markets being added. Cybertruck will be in complete scale now, mass scale, much more than it was, you know, the first year where it's just slowly growing. I'm sure I'm missing a lot of things, but there's going to be AI, right? We're going to see hopefully Grok integration into the robots and the cars. It's going to be a good year.
2025 is the year of the tsunami.
Oh, there you go. That's a good choice of words. Wonder where you got that from, Nick. All right. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Dropping off and stay on the line. Bye, everybody.